Hey Diva, it's Kendall. I see that you're on Zoom. If you want to test your audio, you're welcome to unmute, talk.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Petaluma City
Recording in
Council.
progress.
Okay, we'll start again. Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Petaluma City Council and the Petaluma Community Development Successor Agency for Monday, October 17th. I will now invite Maria Galvez and Monica Aparicio to provide information for those who want to listen in Spanish. Cami?
I see one of our interpreters has not signed on yet, and we're contacting her. But I've asked the other interpreter to unmute herself and address.
Thank you.
Monica or Maria, you should be unmuted and be able to address Mayor Barrett.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Monica, the Spanish interpreter. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'm not able to hear anybody.
You can't hear us?
Hi, Monica. This is City Clerk Kendall. We can hear you on Zoom. I think we're having some audio connection issues with the chamber. We're not hearing the chamber mics.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because we couldn't hear you. And I think that they're waiting for us to announce, but we're not, we can't hear you.
Kendall, you can let her know we can hear her fine, and if
Yeah,
she'd
that's
like
my
to start,
understanding
that would be
too.
good.
Kendall, do you have any suggestion?
I'm currently trying to text a few people who are in the chamber to see if we can restore the audio.
Oh, I guess-
David, can you hear me? This is Maria Galvez, the interpreter.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Maria, I
Thank you.
think the problem is within the chamber. I think we're okay.
Yeah, okay. I just couldn't hear anything or I didn't know if I was being heard.
Yeah.
Testing audio.
That was Cami. We heard you on Zoom.
This is the mayor. Can you hear me, Kendall?
Yes, Mayor Barrett, we can hear you.
Thank you. I think the problem is resolved.
Thank you.
So if the translators would like to speak now, that would be good.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I will now give the advisement in Spanish for those wishing to listen to tonight's meeting in Spanish. Hola, me llamo Mónica Paricio. Estoy aquí con mi pareja de interpretación, María Galvez. Estamos aquí hoy como intérpretes. Este evento se llevará a cabo en español e inglés. Se usarán ambos idiomas activamente, así que usted podrá elegir un canal para participar en su idioma preferido después de que le hayamos explicado cómo funcionará la interpretación. Estaremos usando la función de interpretación de Zoom. Después de que termine esta explicación, se activará la función de interpretación. Si usted está participando con su computadora, verá un icono de mundo en la parte inferior de la pantalla. Si está conectado con su tableta o teléfono, pulse más y verá el menú que incluye la opción de interpretación de idiomas y elija español. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, we will have the call to order. So the roll call, please.
Barrett,
Here.
Fisher,
Here.
Healy,
Here.
McDonald,
Here.
Kosake.
Here.
Let the record reflect Council members Barnacle and King are absent. All other members are present.
Thank you. And with that, we will stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now have a moment of silence. Agenda changes and deletions to the current agenda only. There are none. And we will now move to presentation. And this is going to be presented, a discussion about the November 8th election update presented by the Sonoma County Registrar of Voters, Diva Proto.
Hello, can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I am not there in person, and hopefully this will be some good information for you. And if you have any questions, we'll have some time at the end. Kendall, next slide, please. I wanted to go over some of the important dates for the election. So ballots and voter information guides have been mailed out. They just went out on October 10th. So if voters have not gotten either yet, wait until Wednesday and then let us know if you have not gotten them. But they are in the mail, and there is 300,000 for our county, so it does take a little while to get out there. We like to remind everyone October 24th is the standard voter registration deadline. You can still register and vote after this deadline. It just has to be in person at one of our vote centers or in our office. October 29th, which is a Saturday, our 11-day vote centers open, and those will run 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We have 7 throughout the county. And then the following week, November 5th, which is the Saturday before the election, the rest of our locations open. So total, we'll have 31 locations around the county for people who need services or want to vote in person. And then, of course, November 8th, our ballot drop boxes will close at 8 p.m. Our vote centers will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then I'm sure everybody will be waiting for our results to be posted after that. Next slide, please. So in Petaluma, the ballot drop boxes are already open if people do want to use them. They are picked up by county staff frequently. And there are 2 in Petaluma. There's one at the Petaluma Community Center as well as the Petaluma Veterans Building. Next slide, please. We have one 11-day vote center in Petaluma, and that's at the Petaluma Veterans Building. So on the early days, it's open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then again, election day, that's 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Next slide. Our 4-day vote centers, so we'll have 5 locations total because that Petaluma Veterans Building will remain open. We will also open Petaluma City Hall, the Petaluma Community Center, a location at the Sonoma County Junior College on Sonoma Mountain Parkway, and then we are also at the Rancho Adobe Fire Station in Pen Grove. So those will be open Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and then again on Election Day, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. At any of those vote centers, you can vote in person if you'd like to. You're not assigned to a specific one. If you can't find your replacement, or if you can't find your vote by mail ballot, or you lost it, or you never received one, you can get a replacement. You can use one of our accessible ballot marking devices. You can register to vote. You can update your voter registration in case you moved, you had a name change. And then we also have curbside voting and language assistance available at all those locations. And because we always get a lot of questions, I just wanted to go through really quickly some of the security features we have in place for the election. So California is a paper-based state, so all of the ballots cast are on paper. Our tabulation system, which is up at our office, is not connected to the internet in any way. We have a manual tally requirement where after the election, we will go through and manually count randomly selected batches of ballots and then compare that afterwards to make sure that the computer count was accurate. We only have one active ballot out for any one voter at a time. So sometimes people will receive 2 ballots. Perhaps they updated their address or their name. We'll send them 2, but only one of them is valid. And you can call our office if you have any questions about that. All vote by mail ballots have their signature checked by a human, a trained staff member. And we have extensive chain of custody and logs for all the ballots. Ballots are never alone with anybody. And we do update our voter registration rolls constantly. So, and I have time for some questions. I did want to, just as an FYI, we discovered an error today with a couple of ballots in Petaluma. A couple of precincts, or sorry, a couple of streets, a couple of voters were in the wrong precinct. They should have had City of Petaluma District 2, but they had District 1 on their ballot. So that has been corrected. New ballots have gone out already, as well as a postcard, in case people have any questions, letting me know.
Okay, thank you very much for that information. Let me see if there are any questions from the dais. I have a question, and it just might be something that I'm not aware of, but you did mention Pen Grove as a place that Petaluma voters can vote in, and that is the case?
Yes, actually Petaluma voters can vote anywhere in the county at any of our locations. I just wanted to call out the ones that were closest to Petaluma.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so thank you for your presentation. I don't see any other questions, and hopefully we'll have a good turnout this year. Hopefully. Thank you for having me. Okay, thank you. Now we're moving on to general public comment. And I will ask the city clerk if she has received any general public comment prior to.
Madam Mayor, no general public comments prior to the meeting.
Thank you very much. And I have, actually, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 people who have asked to speak, but one person wants to cede their time. We do not cede time during general public comment. So either do both of you want to speak, or does just one of you want to speak?
No, it was only for if we were going to be reduced to 2-minute time if there were excessive amounts.
Okay, well, we'll find that out. We'll find that out to see who's on the, right now you're at 3, but okay, so let's see if there's anybody in the Zoom audience who wants to speak. So can I ask the moderator to please check the Zoom audience for people who want to speak on general public comment?
Cami, if you're speaking right now, we cannot hear you on Zoom.
No one is speaking right now.
I'll be addressing momentarily. We have one public comment in our Zoom participation.
Okay. Are you going to start the 30-second clock?
At this time, I will start a 30-second clock for general public comment. Members of the public attending in person should bring their speaker cards to the clerk's desk if they have not already done so. Members of the public attending online or by phone should raise their virtual hand or plus *9 if participating by phone.
So we still have just the one hand. Okay, fine. So that means everybody gets 3 minutes. Okay. So with that, we'll start with Chantel Rogers, to be followed by Peter's not going to speak, right? Or Tim is not going to speak, right? Okay. And so followed by Peter Chernev. Go ahead. Well, you want to speak into that microphone?
Go into here, okay.
It's a little confusing. We're still in transition.
Okay, all right, are we good? Ooh, okay, we're good to go?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. My name is Chantel Rogers, and I've lived across from McNear Park for close to 30 years. I'm really disappointed to have to come before you tonight. Once again, there's a proposal put forth by baseball interests to carve up and fence off McNear Park for exclusive use by ball players, and this time dogs. In case you haven't had the opportunity to look at it, here is the vision that the groups proposing the changes have in mind. The entirety of the park would be fenced off into 2 ball fields and a dog run. There will remain no other space in the park. I brought copies if anybody's interested. Once again, we will have to organize to preserve the open space jewel that is McNear Park. Once again, the neighbors of the park were not consulted, considered, nor informed of this proposal. I've spoken to my neighbors abutting the park, and not a single one knew about this proposal or the petition that has apparently been signed by hundreds. Once again, we will be the voice of the myriad other stakeholders left out of this suggested reconfiguration of the park, most of whom don't even know what they might be losing. We will speak for all of the other youth sports who have used this park in the past and have dire need of their own practice space: soccer, lacrosse, football, rugby, cheerleading, and others. We will represent the families who bring their kids and grandkids to play in the open space, the frisbee and football throwers, the pick-up kickball players, the joggers and Tai Chi practitioners, and all the others who cherish our rare open space. All of them would be exiled from the park, fenced off for the exclusive use of ball players and dogs. Those of you who were around when the National Little League tried to relocate here after they lost their fields when the old Kenilworth Junior High was sold will remember how brutal the fight was. The neighborhood was seriously maligned in the community and in the press. but we prevailed and McNear Park has remained open to all these last 15-plus years. I want you to know that we are not NIMBYs, and we don't have a problem with kids, dogs, or baseball. We embrace the constant bustle of McNear Park's use. We sure love the park, and we will do what we need to in order to keep this open space fence-free and available to the diversity of its users, for which it has always been open and for which it was intended. McNear Park, as well as so many others, is in terrible disrepair. Gophers have decimated the fields, making them hazardous for any to use. But fencing off the park for exclusive use by only a few is not the answer. I sincerely hope that the City and Parks and Rec Commission will prioritize park maintenance so that all Petalumans can use them. And I hope that fencing parks off will not be considered as part of the solution. In the words of George McNear when he dedicated to land to create the park will always be the property of all the people, young and old, where they can enjoy the air and sunshine and such sports as may be provided for, and nobody can say them nay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anybody interested?
If you could leave them with our clerk, she can get those to us, so thank you. Peter, followed by Catherine Bobowski.
Oh, I remember, and I'll give a big shout out in memory. Well, he's still around, but he's just not here. To Zen Destiny, who always used to grab the microphone and talk to the crowd. And, someone mentioned him the other day, how much they enjoyed his speaks. Anyways, I just saw Andy the dog by Gene Schultz. It was excellent. I think you should all take a look at that one. It's beautiful. And I came down here to talk about two things real quick, and one of them is, once again, that all the people that are in the religious realm that claim to be following the carpenter that are not vegans, you're doing the opposite, and anybody that, there's been so much information put out there, the lost religion of Jesus, the gospel as scenes, it all verifies that murder always included the animals, and that the cleansing of the temple was indeed an act of animal liberation. So, you know, we're in this really beautiful place where the courts and the DA and the Farm Bureau peed their pants because they didn't want the information put forward regarding the abuse of animals. When the DXE group were being tried, they had all these felonies, they dropped them all, as opposed to having the public or the jury see how these big husky farmers were abusing little animals. They dismissed all charges. Okay, so that being said, in Iran, for all the Iranian people that are listening and our friends that are from Iran, what's going on over there is they killed this one woman, the morality police. Now they've killed hundreds, well, over 100 young people that were acting out, and the women are being beat up, and they're in a lot of trouble. But see, the people that have all the power here in California, problem is we're under, all this mind control stuff like synthetic telepathy, so we remain acquiescent subservience as always, but I've been doing my best to share that information. And also, I'm in support of the strike, which is on its way, because the CSPOA, the Constitutional Sheriff's Peace Officers Association, have made it very clear about all the bogus information regarding the pandemic, and that what's that called, the opposition, or those that are promoting all this baloney, they've been 240 times an hour in the media for a year and a half. So it's inculcated in our minds that they're telling the truth, but they're not. So I wanted to share also, how's my time? Oh, John F. Kennedy and Bobby worked hard for the spirit and the promise of America. And it seems that that not only were they murdered with Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, but they've murdered our memory and our common sense as Riverkeeper Bobby Kennedy Jr. continues forging that stream of consciousness, believing in the American spirit as both courageous and alive, far greater than any pretense as an army gathers. Good Lord Almighty, such suspense. So
Thank you very much, Peter. Your
let's be
time
nice
is
to
done.
animals and have a
Your
beautiful
time is
afternoon.
off.
Thank you very
Your
much.
time has expired.
And it's Catherine Bobowski's time.
I'm sorry to do this, but I'm really hoping that Linda Fisher and Kevin.
Kevin, would you please stop? This is not a right time for this kind of conversation. You need to leave right now.
We're not a lawyer telling anybody what.
Sir, your
Please
time has
Please
expired.
escort him out of the chamber. Thank you.
Also, she has pictures of vehicles illegally parked on the far lanes. Here she is. And this one's parked there all night. And I got another one right here also. Wait a minute, that's the wrong one. Today, all day. Another one. And this is a picture of our swimming pool. Would you like to swim in this filthy pool? No. And also, too, they parked illegal on the Perry Lane. There was abandoned vehicles there. And I got thousands and thousands of pictures. And I sent these pictures to an attorney. He also has pictures showing this. And a police department that doesn't want to come out because they're very good friends with this manager. That's why they're allowing her family and her friends to break the law. And also, too, once a person moves or passes away, there are 78 mobile homes in that park. She only lets only her family move in, and there's a total of about 76 that's all associated to her. And this park is not being maintained at all. And they're breaking every single law in the book there. And the cops don't care if it costs people their lives. They don't respond, and they should respond and start allowing these people to park in the illegal and fire lanes before it costs another person's life, or anybody's life or home. And also to the Pinellas Transit buses, they're stopping earlier than they're supposed to. You try walking 1.5 miles back home all the time because the buses are stopping earlier than supposed to. And here's a witness too. She has pictures to show you.
My name's Lori, and I got autism, things are hard. To continue where Catherine left off, I also have pictures to show as well as the attorney does. For parking on the fire lanes, which the fire truck can't even get by them, and the parking on Perry Lane, which those cars need to be towed away right away. They shouldn't be parking on there. And I'm a witness to everything else that she has. I got all the pictures like the attorney does. So I'm a witness to her whole place. Plus they're parking against her mobile home. They shouldn't be there. They have a vented number 12, that needs to be wiped out of there. They got to have lines right there. They got to put no parking in it because they got a propane tank directly right next to her mobile home. And all that needs to be cleared out. As far as I know right now. I'm trying to spend 2 nights there, and I can't even spend it because her so-called manager is not going to let me do that. And I have autism, so things are hard for me. So, yes.
Madam Mayor, this is Patrick Carter in your Zoom audience. I'm just relaying information from the translators, reminding people that they need to pause at the end of their sentences, and that will help the translation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, we're going to our last general public comment speaker, and that's Darren Racuson, who will be joining us virtually.
Darren, I will unmute you, and you should be able to press *9 to speak.
Thank you. And I will say after last week's meeting and the different delegate panels of folks running for city council and folks running for mayor over this past week, I think we're all sick of talking about Rainier, but I did want to clarify that myself and other members of the public who showed up, and I think may have, after the explanation from City Attorney Danley, may have misinterpreted a document from 1999 called Resolution Number 99-150, Resolution to remove the Rainier Avenue Crosstown Connector and US Highway 101 Interchange Project. That part, I think, has been detached from this connector project. From the City of Petaluma list of capital improvement projects. So I think from reading this document, I think they do basically lay out a case that the EIR at that time was potentially deficient in areas, but they don't decertify the EIR. They say, be it resolved for these and other reasons and findings, the City Council does hereby eliminate the Rainier Avenue Crosstown Connector from its priority list of capital improvement projects. And I know last week, I believe one of the newspapers ran with Killing Rainier or something like that. But I wonder for council members who had that opinion about the project, if a resolution to this effect would be kind of the next step. You know, I love the colorful language of driving the stake into the heart of Rainier. And I wondered if a resolution to this effect would be the tool in the arsenal to accomplish that, because that mechanism of decertification likely doesn't exist, or no one necessarily knows what that looks like. So I just wanted to elevate that. I know this document was being circulated, and I believe that had we had a little more understanding of this, we may have asked for a resolution to this effect on Rainier. But thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, we are going on to council comment, and I will start with Councilmember Fisher.
Thank you. I just had one liaison assignment this past week, and that was the Regional Climate Protection Authority. I'm on the ad hoc for funding for climate, and we got together with the environmental justice groups that we've been meeting with to see how to integrate them and environmental justice into our committee charter, which is almost ready to go public. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Healy?
Thank you. I don't have any liaison reports tonight. I would ask staff, if you wish, during city council or city manager comments, to respond briefly to what the plans are going forward with McNair Park, if that's appropriate tonight, because I know there's stuff flying around on the internet on that. And then lastly, Madam Mayor, I would request that we adjourn tonight in memory of Hannah Bozang, who was our Argus Courier City Hall reporter for a couple of years, and she was an extremely talented young reporter, and her untimely death is very tragic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Vice Mayor Postacate.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had actually 2 or 3 subcommittee meetings for the Continuum of Care, both for a Built for Zero project that the county's taking part in, and the Funding Evaluation Committee, and that's a new committee. But just to say that we're moving towards a countywide strategic plan that will hopefully incorporate most of the individual jurisdiction plans and move us towards both a highly collaborative and increasingly uniform countywide homeless response. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilmember McDonald.
Thank you. No meetings in the past week, but I do want to notice that the Planning Commission meeting of next week is canceled, and then also I want to remind the public that this coming weekend, SMART will be doing their ribbon cutting for them. Their multi-use path that goes under the freeway. It's been closed for years. And so that'll be fun for everybody to get on out and get from one side of town to the other without using a car. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. And my only report today is that the Mayors and Council Members Association did meet and adopted new bylaws for the Mayors and Council Members organization for our county going forward, which I think will bring it into the 21st century and have it operating as a much more professional group of people. So I'm very happy and appreciate those who helped meet the quorum so that we could actually get that done the other day, or volunteered to be there for the quorum if needed. So with that, I will ask our city manager if she has any comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Wanted to add to Councilmember McDonald's comment about the new Smart Pathway opening celebration, because I know they're also going to be kicking off construction on the new segment that will connect Payran to Lakeville. So that's another cause for celebration on Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon. And then next Monday, October 24th, starting at 6 p.m., we'll have a workshop to talk about next steps after this year of public engagement that we've had on the fairgrounds. So hope that everybody either tunes in virtually or comes to council. And then as a response to Ms. Rogers, I know that the Parks and Rec Commission will be discussing this proposal, but there is nothing in the works for, it'll be a discussion and a conversation, and nothing in the works to take any action on that proposal.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very much. And now we will go on to the consent calendar. So is there anybody on the council who would like to pull anything from the consent calendar? Not seeing anything. Okay, so I will ask the city clerk if she has received any comments prior to tonight's meeting.
Madam Mayor, no comments on the consent calendar items.
Okay, thank you. So I do not have any speaker cards for any of the items on the consent calendar. I will ask the moderator to see if there's anyone in Zoom who wants to speak to consent calendar items.
Madam Mayor, no hands are raised.
Thank you very much. And so with that, we'll close public comment on the consent calendar. And Councilmember Healy?
I'm happy to move the consent calendar items 2 through 6.
Thank you. And Councilmember Fisher?
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Healy, second by Fisher, and we'll have a roll call vote.
Barrett,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Healy,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Hosake.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. And now we're on to public hearings and matters for consideration. And this is item 7, introduction, first reading of the ordinance amending the section 11.48.085 of the Petaluma Municipal Code entitled Parking in Spaces for the Disabled. And we will call on Assistant City Attorney Jordan Green to lead this off.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council and our Petaluma community. My name is Jordan Green, and I'm an Assistant City Attorney in the City Attorney's Office. As you heard our mayor say, I'd like to introduce an ordinance amending Section 11.48.085 of the Petaluma Municipal Code entitled Parking in Spaces for the Disabled. For background purposes, the crosshatched area adjacent to a disabled parking spot is designed to allow disabled individuals extra space to get in and out of their vehicles. The city has designated crosshatched parking spaces on both street parking and off-street parking facilities that the city owns. The regulation of parking on public streets is generally preempted by state law. However, California Vehicle Code sections 22507 and 22519 authorizes cities by ordinance or resolution to prohibit or otherwise restrict the stopping, parking, or standing of vehicles on streets as well as off-street parking facilities that the city owns. California Vehicle Code section 22507.8 establishes a city's authority to enforce disabled parking spaces. It also specifies the requirements a city must fulfill to enforce the violations of its regulations governing use of disabled parking spaces and the pavement adjacent to those spaces. The Petaluma Municipal Code section 11.48.085 establishes the city's requirements for designation of disabled parking spaces. It's similar to Vehicle Code section 22507.8, but does not contain all of its requirements for identifying disabled parking spaces and the designated loading and unloading zones. It also doesn't penalize individuals who park in the crosshatched sparks adjacent to disabled parking spots. Therefore, we recommend amending section 11.48.085 to mirror the language of California Vehicle Code section 22507.8C2. That amendment would make it illegal to park in the crosshatched parking spots or spots located next to disabled parking spots in both off-street parking facilities and on streets. And it would allow the city's parking enforcement officers to issue citations to deter this practice. This, in turn, will help keep designated parking spaces available for community members and visitors with disabilities who need that extra space. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you. Not seeing any hands raised at the dais, and I do not have any speaker cards on this item for public comment. So I will see if the moderator can see if there's anybody in the Zoom audience who is interested in speaking to this item.
Madam Mayor, we do have one hand raised.
Thank you. And I will ask the city clerk, before we call on anyone to speak, to see if she's received any comments prior to tonight's meeting on this item.
Madam Mayor, no comments prior to the meeting on this item.
Thank you. So I will ask our moderator to call on the person who has their hand up.
Janice Cater Thompson, I'm going to allow you to speak. You should be able to unmute yourself and address the council.
Does this pertain to like shopping centers, or is it just the city ordinance or city property or streets? That's my question.
It would be for city-owned parking facilities as well as city streets.
But not private?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. That's our only speaker. And so with that, public comment is closed, and I will bring it back to the council for a motion.
Actually, I had a question.
Oh, here we do have a question from the council.
So
Councilmember Healy?
Thank you. So to follow up on Janice's question, is there any enforcement on handicap spaces in private parking lots under state law or under our ordinances?
Councilmember Healy, I believe we have, I haven't looked at it in a long time, but I believe we have on our books in the municipal code a provision that provides for enforcement by the police department of regulations in private traffic ways and parking spaces where there's an agreement by the owner to participate in that enforcement, and we'd be happy to double check and report back.
Yeah, and I'd be curious to know if those kind of agreements actually exist in practice. So
I don't think they're formal agreements. I think all it takes, if I remember correctly, is for the owner to sort of say "me too," and you're authorized to enforce in our parking area. But we can look and confirm.
Okay, I appreciate that clarification. And with that, I'm happy to move the item.
Thank you. We have a motion by Healy, a second by?
I'll second the motion.
And a second by the vice mayor, and we'll take a roll call vote.
Barrett,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Healy,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Osake.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much, and we'll move on to item 8, which is the introduction, first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 1.18.020 of the Petaluma Municipal Code to authorize the city manager to delegate their authority to settle claims against the city and to establish claims settlement authority for the city's risk manager or designee. And again, we have Jordan Green is speaking for us.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council members, and our Petaluma community once again. My name is Jordan Green, and I am still the Assistant City Attorney in the City Attorney's Office. I'd like to introduce proposed amendments to Chapter 1.18.020 of the Petaluma Municipal Code, which, as you heard our mayor say, would authorize the city manager to delegate her authority to settle claims against the city and to establish claim settlement authority for the city's risk manager or her designee. California Government Code Section 935 states that claims against a local public entity for money or damages, which are not governed by other statutes or regulations, shall be governed by the procedures prescribed in any charter, ordinance, or regulation adopted by a public entity, such as the City of Petaluma. Government Code Section 935.4 authorizes a public entity, such as the City of Petaluma, to authorize an employee to settle claims against the city for $50,000 or less. Currently, our city manager has authority to settle claims for $50,000 or less. If approved, the proposed amendments to Chapter 1.18.020 would amend the municipal code to authorize the city manager to delegate her authority to settle claims against the city. It would also give the city's risk manager or her designee $10,000 in settlement authority, which will enable the risk manager to effectively review claims and efficiently resolve matters when it's in the city's best interest to do so. These amendments would also make Section 1.18.020 consistent with Municipal Code Chapter 1.18.050, which authorizes the city's risk manager or director of human resources to execute, compromise, and release settlements of workers' compensation claims against the city in any case in which the amount to be paid in discretionary settlement does not exceed $10,000. The prompt resolution of liability claims benefits claimants whose out-of-pocket expenses and overall damages can be reimbursed in a timely manner. Prompt settlement of claims that warrant settlement also tends to make reaching settlements more likely and save cities cost and time from staff members as well as our community members. For background purposes, the city's risk manager, assistant city attorney, and assistant city manager have regular meetings to discuss pending claims and litigation. The city's legal team provides regular updates to our city management team, as well as our risk team about current litigation, litigation strategy, and potential outcomes. The risk manager herself has experience in risk management, loss control, general liability, and is also familiar with applicable federal, state, and local laws, codes, and regulations, including the California law regarding torts, public entities, contracts, and other relevant areas. Therefore, we are asking to amend the municipal code to give our city manager more flexibility and to designate her authority, as well as to give our risk manager authority to settle claims of $10,000 or less. We'd now like to open it up to any questions, and we're here to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll see if there are any questions on the dais. Yes, we have Councilmember McDonald with a question.
Thanks. Just a quick magnitude question. I mean, how many of these types of claims do we see in a year? What's the total aggregate of, and this is, I assume bodily harm always get, trip and fall would go outside of this. And would this be like paint damage complaints from drivers? What kind of complaints fall in this category and how many per year?
So it depends. We'd have to look up the number per year to get back and report back on that. But what we typically envision this for is a minor property damage claim where, let's say, our public works crew is out working on the street, and during the course of and scope of their work, they may damage someone's mailbox or a fence and other similar property damage claims where the amount is minimal and our city crew caused that damage. There's no question about it. And they would come in and say, hey, this happened while we were working, and we'd look into it and want to resolve those matters. It could be personal liability as well, or personal injury claims. It just depends. We picture these more for property damage, but of course, each case is unique.
Thank you.
All right. No other questions? Do we have a motion? Oh, sorry. I'm gonna. Did you want to make the motion? Okay. So I'll ask the city clerk if she's received any public comment on this item.
Madam Mayor, no public comment on this item. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will see. I do not have any public comment on this item, and I will ask our moderator to see if there's anyone in the Zoom audience who wants to speak to this item.
Madam Mayor, there are no hands raised.
Okay, thank you. So with that, we'll close public comment on this item. And Vice Mayor?
So,
okay.
I'll move item 8 to authorize the city manager to settle claims in the manner described.
Thank you. And Councilmember McDonald?
I'd love to second this. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a motion by the Vice Mayor and a second by Councilmember McDonald, and we'll have a roll call vote.
Barrett,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Healy,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Osake.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. And with that, the business of tonight's meeting is done, and we will adjourn tonight's meeting in honor of Hannah Bosang. So, meeting is adjourned at 7:20.